I want to welcome you to the Pro Mindset Podcast. The Pro Mindset Podcast is all about diving into the headspace that results in championship performance. High-performing athletes, winners, have this mental flow and have a positive headspace for their performances and success. Join me, Craig Domann, sports attorney and NFL agent, on this podcast. I will interview pro athletes, college athletes, football coaches, and sports personalities. Together, we can discover how you can get in the flow and have your own pro mindset.
Okay, today on Pro Mindset, we have a return guest, Bob Wylie. Bob, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I enjoy reaching out to me coming back.
Okay, so Coach Wylie is a renowned offensive line guru, nearly 30 years of coaching in the NFL. We're going to talk today about how do you win. I want to dig deep into your mind about what do you think and what are some of the coaches that you've coached with? What was their secret sauce on how to win? And so to get started, let's talk about the most successful NFL season you've ever been a part of and what was different about that staff and that year than any other year you've been a part of.
There's been a few of them, but I think one of the ones that we're really proud of is at the Bears, when we were 13-3, and we went into the second round of the playoffs. And then we got beat by Philly on a Sunday night in Soldier Field, and we really had chemistry. I think the club itself, I truly believe of all the years that I've been around, that the chemistry that you create between yourself and the players, okay, is more important than any of the X's and O's. Any of the X's and O's. And the chemistry that the head coach creates between himself and the coaching staff, that's more important than any of the X's and O's. Once you've created that, right, then you've got a good chance. But if you don't have that chemistry between yourself and the players, then there's a good chance you're going to struggle. It's not going to go the way you want it to go. And I really, truly believe that, because players don't care how much you know. They don't care. Players care about how much you care. How much you care about them as people first, and then players. That's what they care about. And it's not a facade. It's not a false front. It's you truly care about them. You know, I know that in my particular case, the way I do it, I get their birthdays. And if their birthday falls on a day we're in season, you can be pretty much assured that there's going to be a cake in that meeting room with the kid's name on it. And everybody right in that room is going to have a piece of that cake. I'm going to send their wives on their anniversary some flowers. Okay, I do all those little things because I care about them as people first. And then once they find out that you truly care about them, that they'll do anything for you. They'll play their butts off for you. And then you have to establish that you know what you're doing. There's going to be a trust and confidence. This is going to make you better, and it's going to make us better as an offensive line. And it's going to make us better as an offense, and it's going to make us better as a team. Okay, so it's a domino effect. So what I'm teaching you, and it's going to probably keep you in the league longer. You don't want to go out and get a real job. You want to stay with what you're doing as long as you can, because you don't find these jobs out in the real world. I mean, how many players and coaches are there in the whole league? Where we go, 2,500 players? And how many coaches? 26 coaches to a staff times 32? We don't really have jobs, guys. Right? This is fun. We're playing. This is a good thing. So you have to, instill all that in them before you even draw or even talk about the first formation and the first play or the first protection. Forget all that stuff. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because everybody basically does the same thing. You just don't know when they're going to do it. Everybody's going to run an inside zone play. Everybody's going to run an outside zone play. Everybody is going to have a slide protection, a solid protection, an out-of-pocket protection, a screen, a draw. Everybody's going to have. There may be a little wrinkle in it, but basically they're all going to have that stuff. And the details you put into that stuff is what makes it work. It's not that because we're going to run the inside zone play. That's not going to make us win. It's the effort, it's the confidence you're going to have when you come to the line of scrimmage. It's the details that you got to go through in your mind and in the preparation, right? That when the ball snaps, you know what to do, when to do it, where to go, and when you need to be there. I think
Hey, Coach, let me jump in there for a second, Coach. Let's go back to the Bears, and you guys went 13-3.
Yep.
Who was your head coach?
Dick Jauron was the head coach.
So Coach Jauron was the head coach. What did Dick do to instill confidence and trust and connection between him and the coaches?
Everything that he wanted from us, he let us coach. He let us coach. He let us have a say. He listened to us. Okay, he listened to what we had to say. Now, did he always do how we saw it in our eyes? No, not all the time. But he listened. He did it in a way that we were all part of it. He created that chemistry that I talked about between himself and us, right? By letting us have a say and listening to us. Okay, it wasn't, this is the way we're doing it, guys. This is my way. And that's it. It wasn't like that. He would say something and he says, anybody have a different opinion about that? And if somebody did, we were not afraid to say it. Because with Dick, it was okay to disagree. It wasn't okay to be disagreeable, but it was okay to disagree because that's where the ideas came from. He created that. And then that filtered over right to the players. I told my players, it's okay to disagree with me, guys. You just tell me why. You're playing. I'm not playing.
Who were the guys on the offense for the Bears back then that were the alpha male leaders? And what were their characteristics, and how did they lead, and how did they create an environment, winning environment?
Owen Krutz was the leader of the whole team. He was our center. Okay, Owen was tough. He was demanding. He was articulate. He was very well prepared. He knew the blitzes. Matter of fact, Jimmy Miller, who does the Sirius NFL radio with Pat Irwin, right? Jimmy was our quarterback. Normally, the quarterback comes to the line of scrimmage. Okay, so we would declare the mic, and we'd set up the protections where we thought the blitz was coming from. Even though we called the protection in the huddle, right? When we came to the line of scrimmage, we could change the protection for where we saw the blitz was going to be. So Jimmy would come, and Jimmy would just ask, "Oh, hey, am I okay here?" And Owen would tell him, "Yeah, we're okay." Or no, we need to slide this way. So we would make the adjustment on the line of scrimmage. He built that kind of trust. Owen could do that. Owen controlled the whole offensive line. That was a key part for us, right? Having Owen on the offense. Jimmy Miller was a veteran quarterback. Jimmy Miller spent time with the younger quarterbacks. He spent extra time after practice. Jimmy was the kind of player, okay, that never said no to a teammate. So if the receivers wanted to stay after practice and throw, he was out there. The running backs wanted to do some extra work after practice catching the ball, he was out there. Those type of things by those guys really made the difference on how we handled the offense. And they took care of the locker room. Okay, any problems that occurred in the locker room, they fixed it before it ever got to the coaches, before it ever got to us. Those guys handled it. We had Earl Acker on defense. We had Philip Daniels. We had Ted Washington. Keith Schrager. Those guys fixed things, right, before they ever left the locker room to get involved with the coaches and the rest of the staff. Okay, so that was really a good thing. And I think the coaches that you hire in certain positions are some of the key hires. You know what I mean? I think, I'll give you, for instance, when you create something, if you're going to go into a building and try to create a winning atmosphere, right? I think there's 4 people that you need to have that are really quality, personable, down-to-earth, loyal kind of guys, okay? Number one, I think your equipment manager. Because that guy deals with every player every day. So if that kid needs a pair of socks or some shoelaces or some wristbands or a new pair of spikes or whatever it is, he's giving the kid a hard time in the morning when the kid comes in. Well, that kid starts his day off miserable. You don't want that to happen. The trainer, right? He deals with every player every day. So that guy has to be the same way. You don't want the player to go down to the trainer to get something or, have his ankle tape or something and the trainer's too busy to talk to him and do something. Or so how the kid starts his day off the same, your special teams coach. That guy is really important because he does the same thing. He deals with every player every day. People don't think like that. Your strength and conditioning coach is another one. He deals with every player every day. So those four hires, they're your key hires. People think, when I ask people, who would you hire first? They say, oh, I got an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. No. You're going to make sure that those other positions are people that the players trust, okay, that the players can go to if they need something, right? And they're not going to get a headache by the time they leave there. So you start when you're building things, and you have to think of it that way. And then you build it from there. So now you're the head coach. Okay, you got that in place. So now you say, okay, I need an offense, and I need a defense, and I already got the special teams guy. So what guys do I, that I think is going to fit what I want to do? And Coach Brown used to say this about Paul Brown. He'd say, you guys need to get it from the blackboard to the grass. You're going to be able to do that. So you're going to get those guys in place, the good teachers. Okay, so you've created the ability to agree or disagree with the head guy to communication. You create that ability. A lot of guys are insecure. No, don't allow that to happen. You need those kind of conversations. Okay, you need, as an assistant coach, you can't be sitting in a room and being afraid to say something because people will think, well, he's against what we're doing. He doesn't have the right philosophy. No, that's not the case, guys. There's different ways to do it. And if you're an assistant coach and you're sitting in a meeting and you know what's up on that board is not going to work and you keep your mouth shut, right, then you're just as much the problem. If you're going into a personnel meeting and presenting the player, right, let's just say it's an offensive tackle, and you as a position coach don't like that guy, right, don't feel you're going to hurt anybody's feelings. Okay, you better say what you think. If you don't like them, you better say you don't like them and why. Give them examples. Because if you don't and they take that guy, he's now your problem. He becomes your problem. So you're going to be able to have your coaches do those type of things. You're going to want the players to come into the building, whether we win or lose, and be happy coming into the building. I've been in some teams and staffs where when we lose a game, right, you dreaded going into the building because it was going to be unmerciful that day. Instead of, guys, yeah, we lost the game. Now let's fix the problems. Let's get this fixed so we get the corrections to the players. Or, look, guys, let's just show the players all the good things that they did. Let's not hammer them and break them down. So you got to create that atmosphere where the players like to come in. They like to be there, right? So you got to create that loyalty. Just what you said earlier, Coach. The loyalty and trust between the player and the coach is really where it all begins. It's really where
no
it all
doubt about
begins.
it. Okay, Bob, you've got this. You're trying to create an environment as a head coach to have a locker room and position meetings where the coaches can feel comfortable and confident doubting, questioning, suggesting different ways to do a play. And you also want to set up an environment as a position coach that your players can ask you questions about why you do what you do, because they're the ones that are actually in battle on the field, and they may see it a little bit differently, or maybe their lack of experience, they don't see what you see. How do you create that environment so that everybody feels comfortable questioning the boss, so to speak? Well, as a boss, as a boss, maintaining that authority is you're the boss.
Well, because I tell them, guys, there's no dumb question. There's only dumb answers. So if you don't have something, you don't understand something, it's okay to talk. It's okay to be transparent. It's okay to be transparent in the meeting room. That's okay, guys. I'm not insecure. Okay, I am going to listen. I may not always do what you say, but I am going to listen to you because you are playing. I haven't played it down in 47 years or 50 years. I don't even want to play it down. You know what I mean? So, you're out there, and when you're on the field, okay, and you're playing, there may be a 10 or 12 play drive that you're involved in, and they have to be able to make the corrections out there, because no matter what you think, when you're standing on the sideline, you're a fan. Okay, I don't care if you got the headsets on. I don't care. You got the chalkboard, whatever you got. You're really a fan. You're watching the game. Those guys are playing, and you're watching them play. Now, where you become a help to them, okay, is when they come off the field. That's where the help becomes in. So you better listen to what they're talking about because they're playing. I always try to put your players in the best position, right? And they have to trust that you're going to put them in the best position. So I never let them go out there. And never is a long time, right? But just do it this way, because if it's not working, right, doing it that way, then you just put the kid in a real bad position, because you may not be able to talk to that kid 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 plays, right? That kid's getting his butt kicked because you as a coach didn't give him enough tools in his toolbox or enough different techniques to change, all right, or enough communication that they can make the adjustments out there, and they don't really need you at that point in time. They have to do it themselves. So you have to create that rapport with them in the meeting room. I always tell them, this is one of my favorite sayings, Coach: learn before you compete. Learn before you compete. You have to learn, right, in the meeting room. It has to be a two-way street, right? I'm going to give you the installation. I'm going to give you the techniques. I'm going to give you the video. I'm going to touch all the bases. Okay, you give me the feedback. Coach, maybe did you ever think about doing it? And we discuss it. I want that conversation to go on, and I want them to start the conversation. I want to empower them to do it. Okay, to take responsibility. I throw something on the table, and I want them to discuss it and come up with an answer. And I'll decide whether that's a good or bad answer. Okay, that we can get it done like that, where they feel comfortable that they can execute it and make it work. You find out it's a two-way street. If you go in there and you're just going to be rigid and stern and doing it this way, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. There's got to be some type of give and take on both sides.
Absolutely. Okay, Coach, I want to jump to, why do you think that some programs, some universities, some NFL teams, they just perennially win? Like, look at the Steelers. They just seem to win. Doesn't matter who the coach is. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. And then there's some programs, and you were a part of the Browns, and they're obviously having a great year this year. But the Browns have had, since they came back to the NFL in 2002 or whenever it was, after the franchise took off to Baltimore, they've had a tendency to lose and lose and lose. And it didn't matter who the head coach was or the quarterback was or so on and so forth. What's your perspective on why winners win and losers lose? What's the biggest disconnection or biggest separator between those two?
Because I think the communication has to be through the whole building. It just can't be like the coaches and then the coach. So I think that the owner, I think that the general manager, right? I think that the head coach, all right? I think those guys, they have to start it at that level. That all has to be a philosophy that everybody buys into, right? So it has to start up at that height first and then filter down. So if you've got a set of coaches that are not getting along or they're not getting the ammunition they need, by ammunition I mean players, from the scouts or the people making the personnel decision, you probably don't have a chance. I mean, the one time we didn't have a quarterback. God bless you, Jackson. Honest to God. Right? We did not have a quarterback that had won a game in the National Football League, and we're going to go into the season like that. We didn't have a quarterback that won a game in the National Football League on the team. How do you let that happen? How do you let that happen? If you look at what they're doing now, they're doing a fantastic. They're doing a real good job. But if you look at the team personnel now and you back it up 3-4 years, it's entirely different. It's entirely different. People and how they view. I mean, you can. I think it comes down a lot to also is evaluation of the players. Okay, you can have 5 guys look at one guy, and you have 5 different opinions. Oh my God, you know what I mean? I think.
Well, welcome to the world of NFL scouting. They all don't see the same thing in players.
Right, they don't. They all got their opinions and how it should look and do. God created the body 200,000 years ago. It's the first carbon-dated fiber of man. The body still works the same way as it did 200,000 years ago. The joints all work the same. There's only so many leverage angles you can put the body in, power angles that you can create with your body. They look at all these guys differently. Can he keep his center of gravity down the middle of his body? Can he move his feet? Can he stay on blocks? Okay, if he can't do that, then move on to the next guy. I'll give you another great example. I think quarterbacks. Right? I think one of the first things you should ask yourself, and I could be entirely wrong on this, decision making of the quarterback. How fast and how correct are the decisions that he makes? If he can't make decisions that are correct and fast, then why do you want to hang up? Why do you want to take the guy? Why do you want to put yourself through the agony of trying to get him to do that? Because if he hasn't done it by the time he's a senior in college, it's a pretty good deal that he's probably not going to do it when you get him in pro football. But if you get the guys kind of, that guy that came out of LSU, Joe Burrow, he makes good decisions on where to go with the football. The ball comes out quickly. The ball is usually placed pretty well. I mean, he does all those things. So when you're sitting down and talking about those, I think one of the questions you ask yourself is, hey, is he a good decision maker? That's the first thing. And if he is, okay, let's move on to the next thing. How tall is he? How strong is his arm? How quick are his feet? How agile is he? Can he move in the pocket? How does he run? Does he have the ability to run? I mean, all those type of things. They follow the decision-making process question. I think you got to have all the philosophy and specifications of what you're looking for in each individual position, and that's all got to be talked through between what the coaches need and want, okay? And the scouts have to look at through the coach's eyes, and the coaches have to see what the scouts see, right? And then collectively, you make a decision on that guy. If you've got 1 or 2 guys just picking all the guys, and they're not listening to the rest of the guys, you're going to have a problem. There's going to be a problem there. Sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. I'll give you a great example. All right, it happened to me. And when I was at the Browns, they asked me, Austin Ryder, okay, was a backup center for us. And I think the kid's a real good football player. I think he is. And they asked me, would you put him in the Steeler game if JC went on? I said, yes, I would. There's no question I would put that kid in the game. Well, somewhere along the line, they obviously didn't like the answer, and they had their own opinion about him, and they cut the kid. So I get a phone call from a buddy of mine that coaches on the staff out there at the Chiefs, and he said, would you take? I said, yeah, you can sign him, sign that kid. He's the starting center now for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's got a Super Bowl ring now, right? Same thing. If I had a guy on the developmental squad named Andrew Wylie. They used to kid with me, say that was my son. Spelled it exactly the same way, right? And he was a good, tough kid, played in Eastern Michigan. He was tough, he was smart, and he was a baller kind of guy. So we got him on the developmental squad. And one day I came to work and I said, where's Andrew? Was he late? He said, no, he got cut this morning. Well, they cut him and he never ever talked to me. Well, I get a phone call. Here he goes, off to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he's the starting right guard for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's got a Super Bowl ring. Then we had another kid that was a first-round draft pick that I liked the kind of, but they had him playing. He was a tackle, and they had him playing center because he was a pretty good athlete. He never played center. He played a few games at center, but to make him the starting center in the National Football League, no. take him and put him in one spot and leave him there. Well, he ends up at the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they let Mitchell Schwartz get away, who I think is probably the best right tackle in the National Football League. So at least three of those guys were guys that I had, right? And Mitchell was the fourth guy that they let get away from the Browns.
So you're basically they've got the Cleveland Chiefs playing the offensive line in Kansas City.
Right now, those guys, they got Super Bowl rings. That's timing. They couldn't play at Cleveland, but they can play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? So,
well, let's talk about the Chiefs for a moment. Don't know how well you know Andy Reid. He's been around forever. What is it about, you know him very well, what is the thing about Andy that enables him at his age? He's got the youthfulness. He's got the players on both sides of the ball playing at a high level. Certainly this year they've been taking everybody's best shot because of the returning Super Bowl champs. And they're on the cusp of getting a number one seed in the AFC at the moment. What is it about Andy Reid that makes Andy Reid special?
Well, I'll tell you, the guys that work for Andy, they really don't want to go anywhere else. Very seldom. Guys work for him for years before, 10, 12, 15 years, and then he decides to go someplace else. Right? Andy creates the atmosphere, that I was talking about. They like coming to work. They like Andy listens, and Andy also will tell you and make the decisions, but he's making the decisions that work. And the people believe in him. So when he gets there, from what he did with Philly, I bet you right now Philly's not really. Now they won a Super Bowl, but right now Philly is not. You ask me who they're going to rather have. Well, Andy Reid looks like he's doing a pretty good job in Kansas City right now. So Andy creates all that stuff I was talking about with those guys. Okay, now the players believe in him. They believe in the offense. They believe in the defense. They believe in what they're doing. Because they won a Super Bowl. They've won a lot of football games doing it the way Andy wants it done. But Andy's doing it with the information that he gets from the staff. He listens to the staff. He makes a decision. Everybody's on board with it. They go out. They practice it. It works. They play. It works in the game. What you see, they're in the first seat right now. So Andy creates that. Andy creates what we talked about in the beginning, and they view Andy as a winner. They don't They don't look at him as a winner. Now, he may have bad seasons here and there. Everybody does. Everybody will have a bad season here and there. Okay. And look at New England having a bad one now. And that record, yeah, okay. You think Bill Belichick's a bad football coach? There's no way. He just didn't forget how to coach. And you need the guys that are pulling the trigger. You need the players. They play a big part of it. As you can well know. You got Patrick Mahomes. I was watching the game last night. Personnel makes a big difference. Makes a real big difference. You, as a coach, you can only make them so much better. Some guys are only going to get so good and they're going to stop. That's it. Done. Okay? So you want the guys that keep progressing and keep getting better every day. I'm not talking about every day. They find a way to get themselves a little bit better than they were the day before. Andy, and I like Andy. I've known Andy when he was a line coach at UTEP, and I was at Colorado State, and we went down there, and we beat him like 52-0. And he come across the field, and he goes, "Yeah, I think you just got us fired." And I said, "Andy," I said, "God," I said, we just running straight line dives. But the point I'm trying to make is, Andy's been on the other side of it. Andy's come up through the ranks. Andy has had some really good people that taught him about coaching. He's been around Mike Holgram. He's with Bill Walsh. So he's been in programs that have consistently won. The Green Bay Packers, when Andy was there, they were winning. They were winning. So he got the job, and he just took the philosophy, that he learned, right, and made it fit his personality. And once you start winning a lot of football games, like Andy has, Mike Tomlin has, Sean Payton has, Pete Carroll has, Bill Belichick has, the players are going to buy in right away because they trust him. He has a lot of skins up on the wall from hunting, you know?
Absolutely. Hey, Coach, I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago where you talked about the best players are the ones that get better every day. They get better at something every day. And so during the course of a decade, certainly they're going to be a lot better players in year 10 than they were in year 1 because they're a lot smarter and they've got these unbelievable habits that help them develop their skills. Speaking to players out there that might be listening, how would you recommend a young man become a winner, and what does that mean in terms of getting better every day?
Well, I think the mental side of the game plays a lot in it, Greg. I really believe that the game is 80% communication. It really is. It's 80% how do you communicate, and it's 20% is the technical part of it, the techniques and the plays and things of that nature. But 80% of the game is communication. So if you got to get them to be able to communicate, understand, you got to get that in place first, the communication, and then you teach them the technical part of it. And I tell my players, you only want to get a little bit better every day. So it's my job as a coach to say, hey, you don't do this well enough to get us where we need to be. And then I think you have to build in their minds that they cannot be afraid to fail. I think people in life don't think big enough because they're afraid to fail, period. And I don't care what job you're in, it doesn't matter. Okay, people don't think big enough because they're afraid to fail. Okay, and you can't be that way because there's going to be mistakes that happen out there. There's going to be sacks that are going to let it. Right, there's going to be pressures. People are going to go the wrong way. Okay, that's all going to happen. It's how you handle that after it happens. That's what counts. Okay, how you handle that. Right, that's what you've got to instill them. They can't be afraid to fail. Right, because what happens, they make a mistake. Right, well, he's the first person to know he made the mistake, that player. So what happens? The position coach starts to jump on him. Right, then the coordinator, he has to turn his 2 cents into the picture. Right, then the head coach, well, I might as well tell him something too. Now the kid's afraid to move. You can't do that to the kid. Right, solve the problem and correct the problem. Coach him through the problem. Coach him. Teach them. Don't tell them. There's a big difference between teaching them and telling them. There's a big difference.
What's the difference, Coach?
Well, you're teaching them, and you're gonna see results of what you've taught them. The finer details in demonstrating it, showing them film, reviewing it in the book, taking them separately and making sure the technique's the correct way that you want it. Or I can just tell them, okay, block the linebacker. That's not helping the kid. I'm not helping the kid if I'm telling them. I'm helping the kid if I'm teaching them. There's a big difference in it. So
that sounds like to me that if you're telling them, you're just telling them the what. If you're teaching them, you're telling them the what and the why.
Right, the what and the why. And always tell your players, coach, always ask why. Tell your players, always ask why. Why are we doing this, coach? And you better not answer them because I said so. That better not be an answer. You're going to give them an answer that they're looking for. We're doing this because the safety's down. We got the Mike linebacker over. He's a 2 technique. So we think we're going to get this stunt now. Okay, that's why we're doing this line call. We're not doing this other one, okay? Let it make sense to the kid. They'll get it. They'll make it work. They'll find a way to make it work for you. If you leave too many gray areas for them, it does it, because now they don't trust you. And you can't do that to the player. You cannot do that to the player.
You were recently with the Browns a couple years ago. What do you see in the Cleveland Browns this year that's enabled them to go 9-3? What development, what communication, what leadership? Obviously, you're on the outside looking in now, but you know these kids. You coach these linemen. What are you seeing?
The drama and the distractions are gone. And I think one of the best things that happened to him, okay, is when the receiver went down, when he's no longer part of the drama and the distractions that they, in turn, and especially I would imagine the quarterback is more relaxed, right? And
OBJ is a drama queen. And there's a lot of guys around the league, especially receivers, that are drama queens because they want the ball. They can never get the ball too much.
Right.
They want the ball when they're triple covered. They want the ball when even though one of their teammates might be wide open.
Do you ever see a receiver come back to the huddle and tell you when they were covered? They're always open.
They're always open. They're 7-Eleven.
When you get sacked, they're all open. Every one of them on the field is open when you get sacked. But, okay, when we hold them out of there for 4 seconds and nobody gets open, what happened, guys? How come you didn't get open? Why are you always open when we get sacked? When you remove the distractions, when you remove the drama, they play better. They really do.
Coach, what's your take on Baker Mayfield? You were there when he was a rookie. He's developed, last year he had a little bit of a sophomore jinx. What are you seeing in his development?
To me, he had Kenny Zampese the first year. Kenny kept Baker corralled. Baker was learning. Kenny's an excellent teacher. In fact, he's got Alex Smith at Washington right now, and he's playing pretty good, don't you think? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think Kenny had a big part in that when Baker's first year. I think that the coaches, okay, they're doing a really good job of getting the players, and the players are now bought in, and they're not asking Baker 35, 40 times a game to throw the ball down the field, right? They're asking him, hey, we're going to run the ball, and we're doing a good job at running the ball, and then we're going to run the run action passes off of the run game, okay, and then we're going to move you, so we're going to run the out-of-pocket protections, right, and we're going to move you and give you half the field to work with so you don't have the whole field to make all these decisions. And then we're going to drop you back some when we need to. We're going to stretch the field when we need it. But most of the time, we're going to give them, one personnel looks and then end up throwing the ball. You know what I mean? And I think they probably do a real good job at self-scouting themselves. They're putting Baker in the best position for him to be able to function and make it all work out there. That's what I think is happening.
And having 2 potential 1,000-yard rushers is doing nothing but helping him.
I think the last time that happened, Howard Mudd, God rest his soul, was the line coach at the Cleveland Browns, and they had Mack and Biner in the backfield, and they both had 1,000 yards that day. To go back and review the whole thing, and it still comes down that the chemistry that is created is really where it spots. Okay, I don't, if I was going to hire a head coach and they said, okay, Bob Wylie, okay, we want you to hire this next head coach that we want to put in this seat. The first thing I would do.
Well, if you look at some of the most successful coaches in college or pro, most of them have a sense of humor. They've got charm. They've got some charisma. Even a guy like Bill Belichick, who, by all accounts, doesn't look like he could do stand-up comedy. But he does. He does. He does it every Sunday after a game when he holds court at his press conference, and he by just not answering a question, he's answered the question.
I thought he did a good job yesterday when they asked him who the quarterback's going to be, and he goes, that's a good question. I'm really glad you asked me that question. And he was kind of being facetious and sarcastic at that reporter. Oh, I'm glad. That's a real good question. I'm glad you asked that. It's going to be Cam Newton. I love when he does that stuff.
No, it is. It's comical, and I think that the players in the locker room hear him do that, and they respect him more.
When you go to the New England Patriots, okay, what people don't understand, like these guys that leave Bill and they try to do the Patriot way, like they just tried that in Detroit. That didn't work. Okay,
right.
So the reason it works in New England because it's Bill. He makes it work. Right? He's making all the decisions. The only guy that he answers to is the owner. Nobody else in that building right? He's going to tell Bill Belichick what to do. He's going to do it. The scouts, the general manager, they all got titles. Bill's doing it, okay? And he's doing it the way he wants it done, okay? And if you're going to go in there and you're going to be the new defensive coordinator, you're not running your defense. You're going to run the New England Patriots defense, right? And if there's stuff that's been working for how many years?
Not only are you going to do Bill's stuff, you're going to do it his way.
Yeah. The toughest thing to teach them is how to stay in a moment. That is the toughest thing because the egos take over, okay? And they can understand that play when the whistle blows is lost in history. It's gone forever. You can never get it back. Doesn't matter what you do, you ain't getting it back. That's gone. Learn from it, and then you got to learn how to flush it, get rid of it. Right? So you got to learn to stay in the moment. What the moment is the most important thing that's happening right now. Not what happened before, not what's going to happen next. What's happening right now. You got to get them to do that. And the other thing that bothers me, Coach, as coaches, everybody talks to their team about having a mindset. Everybody said that. That's coached somewhere in their career. You got to have a mindset. But nobody explains to the players what a mindset is. Right? They're all saying, yeah, we got to have a mindset. But nobody explains for the kids of what it is.
What is it?
Well, a mindset, your eyes and your ears is taking in thousands of bits of information every second. There's things that are going in your brain's taking it, and it's sorting it out, and it's putting it where it needs to go, and then it's getting rid of the stuff that it doesn't need, okay? And it goes on as long as you're awake, right? And it continues to function like that. A mindset and an interpretation that you have, your mindset, you have a fixed mindset or you have a growth mindset. You have a fixed mindset and you have a growth mindset. And it's the same little voice when you wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, that little voice talks to you all day long. If you're in a fixed mindset, the conversation may go like this, right? I didn't see the safety, or I didn't hear the quarterbacks, okay, or I didn't see the linebacker, or I didn't hear the line call. That kid, right, he's going to get you fired. He's throwing somebody else under the bus. He is in a fixed mindset, okay? The kid in the growth mindset, he messes up. He does something wrong. So what's he do? Oh, God, I messed that up. Okay, what did I do wrong? How am I going to fix it? And how am I going to get better at it? That's the kid. That's the mindset you want to have. That's the kid you want to work with. He's looking to get better. The fixed mindset kid, no, he's going to blame it on somebody else. Not his fault. Somebody's going under the bus. He's in a judging mindset. You don't want them in that. You want them in the growth mindset. So what the mindset thing is, it just frames the interpretation of the information that you've taken in. It's framing it. And how are you going to answer it? Are you going to look at it through a judging eyes, or are you going to look at it through a growth eyes? And how are you going to look at that as a player, as a person? What can you see the positive out of it? How am I going to get better? How am I going to be not afraid to fail? You're going to be in a growth mindset. If you're in a fixed mindset, you're going to be afraid to fail. So that's what a mindset is. It's just a mindset is you're framing, okay, the information that you're taking in, right, and how it's being interpreted. That's what it is.
I like it. I like it. I like it, Coach. Well, hey, I want to thank Coach Bob Wylie for being on Pro Mindset today. So I've got to learn how to frame the information maybe perhaps a little bit better after hearing that definition. I like that definition. Coach, I want to wish you nothing but the best of luck and hope to have you on the show again at some point in the future.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pro Mindset. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. You can follow us on our website, promindsetpodcast.com, or on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pro Mindset Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you the next time.